One. All right, and you will also notice that we should have a live closed captioning going on as well. Well, welcome back, everybody. It is Friday, February 4th, 2022. Really great to see you all back here. Thanks so much for being here today. Hope everybody's staying safe in this time of declining COVID and rising health and wellness. So I'm just going to keep a positive spin on that, and we will be back in person in just under 2 weeks on February 16th. So don't forget that. As always, like to start off with announcements. And I've got a big one just the other day. My goodness, like, was it yesterday? A couple days ago, the Snoqualmie tribe acquired 12,000 acres of their ancestral forest land in King County. That is in the state of Washington. They are a federally recognized tribe, indigenous nation, headquartered in King County, Washington state. And their forest lands that they have acquired, 12,000 acres on the Tolt River watershed. Turn that off. This forest has significant cultural, historic, environmental, and economic value to the tribe and is near the lands originally promised to them by the federal government in the 1930s. Big surprise, hold for the big drum roll and, grip your hearts, because I'm sure you will have a myocardial infarction, that is a heart attack, when you hear this. What? The United States federal government made a promise to an indigenous nation and didn't keep it. Yeah, big shock, right? So the lands acquired by the tribe were managed for industrial timber purposes for over a century, right? That's what the federal government was more interested in and ensuring. And but the tribe actually negotiated, pushed hard, and acquired these lands, concluding a decades-long effort to reclaim ownership over this area that is enormously important to the tribe. Let me read you a quote from the tribal chairman, Robert de los Angeles. He says, "Because of this purchase, roughly 12,000 acres of the ancestral lands of the Snoqualmie Indian tribe are being returned to the people who have loved, cared for, cultivated, and protected them since the beginning of time, and who dearly felt their loss for over a century. Going forward, our tribe will sustainably manage these lands to produce revenue for our tribe while we steward the functioning ecosystems and thriving wildlife populations that have shared these lands with our people since time immemorial." I love that quote, right? It really speaks to the multiple ways in which this forest land is so important, and how they recognize that it has never just been about indigenous peoples. It has always been about indigenous sovereignty and making sure that a multi-species community is cared for. So that's really good news, and I'm just happy to share that with you. If there are any other announcements, things we should know about, yes, please, Madison.
I have two kind of that are happening. One is kind of connected to like our lecture from Wednesday.
Hmm.
Um, Oakland Unified School District is being forced to shut down 12 schools in the district, 8 of them serving predominantly Black communities
Oh,
currently. And this is due to statewide quote unquote budget cuts because we have millions of dollars from the state, but we can't keep schools open. And so currently 2 teachers from the schools that are being proposed to shut down are actually on hunger strike right now
wow.
as a way to prevent the schools from being shut down, and are calling on Governor Newsom to halt the closures. And that's like the bad news. But on a different note, there's been an Instagram account called Dear White Staffers that's gone pretty viral over the past week, that's been talking about the exploitative nature of working in the federal government as congressional staffers. And this account has gotten a lot of attention from both media and representatives. And there's now support from Speaker Pelosi, Representative AOC, and Representative Omar and Representative Levin for unionization of congressional staffers to create safer and healthier work environments in the federal government, which is like a really cool thing to see that unionization is being promoted.
Wow. Thank you so much, Madison. So if I heard you correctly, I want to make sure I'm getting this correct. So Oakland school districts, looks like there's a proposed shutdown of some 8 different schools, and folks are hunger striking on that. And I'm hoping we can get more information on that so folks can support them. And then, but the other part that you just mentioned about unionization efforts among federal staffers, I didn't know about that either. That's super important. I hope I got that correct. And are there ways we can learn more about that and maybe support those folks?
Yeah, I can put in the chat the name of the organization that's working with the school closures, and then I can also put the Instagram handles of like the 2 accounts that have gone viral and have gotten a lot of attention, so that people can see all of it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Madison. Super, super important. And yes, you're absolutely right. Some nice connections with the lecture on Wednesday, certainly around resistance and the effectiveness of, and frankly, the ease with which people can engage in hunger strikes. But of course, it is not easy to actually sustain a hunger strike. So please, if you're ever considering something like that, read up on it, learn from folks who have done that because that is incredibly taxing, but can be an incredibly effective way of mobilizing support. So thank you, Madison, for sharing that. Maddie Kramer says in the chat, we just started a UCSB chapter of Backcountry Squatters. Whoa, this is a group that aims to bring together women and non-binary adventurers. We aim to increase participation, knowledge, and leadership in outdoor communities. If you are interested, you can follow us on Instagram and Shoreline at Backcountry Squatters _UCSB. Thank you so much, Madeline. That's super exciting to hear that good news. And Madison is, thank you for putting this info in the chat. The nonprofit organization up in Oakland is called Oakland Kids First. And the viral Instagram account around it's called at dear_white_staffers. Thank you. And Valentina weighs in with, today is Transit Equity Day. I am embarrassed to say I did not know that, Valentina. Thank you. We could certainly use a whole lot of transit, whole lot more equity, and a whole lot more transit equity. Really glad to see that. Actually, Robert Bullard, who is often described as the founder of the field of environmental justice studies, many years ago drew on the work of transit equity activists to really connect transit equity to environmental justice, and has written a number of books that actually include the voices and the words and the histories of activism in this space. So check that out. Thank you, Valentina. Thanks, Madison. Thanks, Maddie, for these updates, for these announcements and news. What else is going on? Let me see. Don't forget, of course, that your test 1 is due tonight, no later than 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. Oh, one person actually asked me a really important question that I didn't clarify on the instructions. And I just want to point out that as much as it's perfectly fine for you to reference or cite, of course, any of the readings from the class, and you can do so in parentheses, right? As I said, like Sunny Chan, page 28, close parentheses. You can also, of course, do the same if you're referencing a lecture, right? You can just say, in your text, you can just say in parentheses, lecture, February 2nd, 2022, something like that if you're drawing directly on a lecture, which I hope you will do. Okay, I see a hand from Summer. Yes, please.
I've been citing the lectures and the readings as footnotes. Is that okay? Or okay.
Perfectly fine.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks for that question. Yeah, I should have made it clear. I have no preference for how you want to cite these things. Footnotes, endnotes, parentheses, bibliography, that's perfect. Thanks, Summer. Love, I see you have your hand up.
I'm just wondering how much trouble I'll be in if I haven't cited the page numbers, because I think since you said we didn't have to do and I haven't been paying attention to the page numbers, and I'm worried about going all the way back and trying to find everything.
Don't worry, you'll be fine. Just as long as it's credible, right? I mean, if you're talking about, I don't know, the coming wars on Alpha Centauri, and you're citing, Pello and Mohai, probably not. I don't think we talked about that there. So no worries on the page numbers. You're solid, Love. You're really good. No worries. Thanks for that. And I go pretty easy on the grading. So as long as you're taking this seriously, we should be fine. Okay. Thanks a lot, everybody, for weighing in with those announcements. I always say UCSB students are always UCSB and community leaders. Really glad to see this good work going on in the world. So today we have a special treat, special guest. I want to introduce right now. I want to make sure they're with us. Oh, good, Lizzy, hello. So Lizzy, I think I made you co-host. Is that okay? It's working. Awesome. All right. So Lizzy Privitera, better known as Lizzy, is an interdisciplinary environmental studies scholar who draws from, and when I say interdisciplinary, I mean interdisciplinary. You met environmental humanities, the social sciences, and the natural sciences to advance what I think are some of the most exciting innovations that I have seen from a young scholar in a long time. Lizzy is currently a PhD candidate at the University of Catania in Sicily, in Italy. Their research involves an investigation of the intersections among environmental conflicts and socioeconomic injustices. Lizzy's work on what she calls toxic biographies and what she calls small data are great examples of what I think is an extraordinarily creative intellect. She uses these concepts to illustrate the ways in which dominant narratives around environmental justice struggles erase or even minimize the experiences of everyday people and activists who in turn articulate counter narratives that reveal how communities that might be sites of contamination are also sites where folks are holding powerful institutions accountable for those forms of social and ecological violence. So her idea of small data, which I think is really a deliberate counter to the currently en vogue obsession with big data and other highly impersonal and sometimes authoritarian forms of data analysis. Well, Lizzy's idea of small data really demonstrates how small groups of everyday people in communities that are fighting for environmental justice can produce alternate and meaningful forms of insurgent knowledge to open up possibilities for achieving environmental and climate justices in even some of the most seemingly hopeless situations that involve dramatic power imbalances between residents of a neighborhood and large corporations or state government agencies. So it is a delight and an honor to have you here. Lizzy, thank you so much. And folks, you want to give a warm welcome to Lizzy Privitera, and you'll give a presentation and hopefully have a little time for some question and answers. I'll turn it over to you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you to you for having me and for this incredible presentation. Oh, wow, so much expectation now. So let me share the screen. And so today with me, thank you for all this introduction about me. We will focus more specifically on a part of my work that was developed before my PhD. But okay, first of all, can you see?
Oh, I think I just gave you screen sharing ability, so I think you should try again.
Okay.
That was my fault, sorry.
You don't no problem at all. Let's try again, because I have a presentation. We will see also a movie, short one, and maybe some nice interaction if we are able to do this. Can you see now?
Yes.
You should see us. Okay, the spatial dimension of environmental injustice.
Looks good.
You see, okay, great. Okay, so hello to everybody. Okay, let me tell that I'm very, very honored and glad to be here with you today, and also to share with you a bit of my previous researches and experiences. And more specifically today, with me, we will talk about the spatial dimension of both environmental justice and environmental injustice. And in other words, we will try to critically reflect and learn about the link between the social justice, the environmental degradation, and the urban planning and design. Before we explore together this link, let me point out one thing. As you, I think, can understand from my very, very light accent, I am not exactly an English native speaker. And so I will try to speak slowly, but however, in addition to asking you to be very patient and tolerant with my pronunciation, I really beg you to interrupt me if something is not clear. So please feel more than free to interrupt me, make me question, ask whatever is not clear. I am more than glad to, repeat something and repeat slower and so on. So that said, let's go ahead. Oh, why does it work? A moment. I'm trying to go with the presentation. Okay, sorry, now it works. So let me tell you another thing. As some feminist scholars affirm, the personal is never only personal, but is also political and scientific. Because of this, I want to briefly introduce myself, even if David has already done this a bit. But so I have a quite, as David was telling, a quite interdisciplinary background. I received my master's degree in architecture and in civil engineering. And then I specialized in community urban planning, and I worked in some of the most distressed districts of my city, that is Catania in Sicily, in the south of Italy, how you can see in this map. So I think it's important to point out that Sicily is one of the most impoverished areas in Europe for many historic reasons that are connected with both the socioeconomic subaltern status in respect to other Western countries, but as well is connected with the presence of criminality and of mafia inside Sicily. And for this reason, today Sicily is actually one of the region with the highest immigration rate, with the highest immigration poverty rate in the north, in Europe, in the northern countries of Europe, not in respect to the eastern country, but to the rich part of Europe. So this is quite important to understand better what I will show you later on. And so I grew up in this condition in Sicily, and I grew up, let's say, frankly speaking, as a bit nerd student, but also as an activist. And so later on, when I started my PhD, I also had the opportunity to go a bit around. I spent a period in Sweden working, collaborating with an environmental humanities lab. And then now I will spend more or less 9 months as a Fulbright Fellow working on environmental justice studies. Actually, environmental justice studies is exactly the core of this course you are attending right now, right? So if I'm not wrong, you had the chance already to delve into the intersection between social justice themes with the environmental issues, by passing through also the gender issue, the prison topics, and so on. So all of these are very amazing and incredible analyses. And for instance, I think you are already familiar with concepts such as environmental racism, environmental justice, environmental inequality and injustice. And quoting an amazing scholar, I don't know if you know a certain David Pello, he says in one of his numerous works that to frame environmental justice as a mere ecological problem runs the risk of missing the point that ecological violence is first and foremost a form of social violence. For this reason, the problem of environmental racism and of environmental inequalities are fundamentally environmental issues. They are social problems. Environmental problems are social problems. And today with me, we will try to understand how let's say, environmental spatial problems, so connected with space, are social problems and vice versa. So we will see the connection, let's say, that we have between space with space, environment, and social injustice. And in particular, we will examine ways in which urban planning and design can produce environmental justice or can produce environmental injustice. So in the first part of this lecture, I will focus more on the spatial dimension of environmental injustice. So how urban and environmental planning can produce environmental injustice. In the second part, we will focus more on, we will concentrate more on how urban planning and design can produce environmental injustice. So it's divided in two parts. Let's start with the injustice part, and then we will see the justice part. So I want to start actually, I want to, let's say, think together, reflect together about this connection between space, environment, and social injustice by showing you this picture. I would like to ask you to look at this picture and ask you what does it transmit to you. Also, you know, which feelings, which ideas. You can talk or also drop in the chat some keywords. I am more than glad to hear from you. Maybe I can see, or let me check the chat. Okay, stark inequality. Oh, very great, Madison, thank you. Very right. Houselessness. Good, David. 1 point for you. Something more? Ironic. Okay, yeah, because it's a quite ironic contrast, right? Quite, I mean, strong one, paradoxical almost. Something more? 3, 2, 1. Okay, all these are very great answer. Oh, sorry. From this picture, it's quite evident some of the main topic. Oh, there is another one. So I didn't want to miss apathy. Apathy, or as well, can be like there is a bit, you know, you mean a passive approach in relation to this quite strong contrast you have, right? This strong contrast you have between a poor sector of the society, while behind you have these huge fancy buildings, modern one. And yeah, from this picture for sure we can, let's say, start to collect some keywords that I think we are familiar with. For instance, the socioeconomic gaps that are inside our city. This means the spatialization of the inequalities. So the space aspect behind the social inequalities you have. I want to say, in addition to this, also the unequal access to houses. It's evident that no one can access a luxury or fancy buildings. Instead live on the street. I have a comment from Love Maya. Agree about the irony having the money to build these immense buildings and then fail to house people properly. Yes, it's totally true. Exactly. It's totally connected with this, you know, these gaps, socioeconomic gaps that really are very, very present inside our city. We live every day. It's something not exactly new to us, right? Everywhere, not only this picture. I actually took this picture a few months ago when I was in LA, but I could have taken this picture in many other places of the world, right? In addition to this social economic gap, I would like to focus on another thing. To live in a tent on the street instead of living on the last floor of a fancy building, it means also different exposure to environmental pollution, for instance. And most probably, in addition to this, there is also a different possibility to access amenities, such as, you know, some also basic environmental rights, most probably a different possibility to access clean air or drinkable water, or most probably also a different possibility to access fruits and vegetables. So from this picture, we can already collect some keywords, and this picture already show how social and environmental inequalities are embedded in our cities and in the way our cities are developed. And precisely because environmental and social injustice has a spatial dimension, a spatial aspect behind. And well, very good. Thank you for interacting so much, but it's just a first picture of another one I want to show you. Oh, sorry, I am, you know why. Okay, this one, sorry. Here we have another picture, and let me look at this carefully, and let me ask you again, what do you think about this picture? Some again, some keywords, or you can talk, or you can write in the chat as well. I give you a few seconds. Okay, we have a comment. David, oh, good, David. You understood where we are. Yeah, ZV, people parks. Good job, Chloe. Something more? Some of you maybe was there when I was taking this picture. Active is a good word as well. Resistance, all right. That is sometimes connected with activism. So it's very true. We are in a public space. This is the people parks, very, very true. We are inside Alla Vista. And I took this picture in June when I just arrived here. And actually, maybe most of you know this story, but during the pandemic, this park was converted into a, let's say, informal homeless or houseless settlement, right? That were using to live there. Then most probably the park district, maybe under the pressure of some public institution or some other residents, decide to evict the people that were living there in order to give back to the community this green space that was occupied, let's say, by this homeless. And nowadays, if you go to Isla Vista, to this people's park, what you will see is a green area. There is not anymore an informal settlement, and instead there is, you know, what I want to say that in order to requalify this park, this requalification has occurred to the detriment of some sectors of the society. And actually this phenomenon, this dynamic in literature, in urban planning, has a name and definition. That is why I am, okay, sorry. That is environmental or ecological or green gentrification. That is exactly this process we actually we were describing. That means that in order to valorize some green area, this actually process leads to increases in perceived local desirability. And because of this, we have some side effects. Let me show you the next picture. That is another example from Isla Vista. We jump to New York. Is the High Line that was requalified, regenerated. But which are actually the side effects of this type of interventions? Among them, we can see the increase of property values, rents, at the expense, most of the time, of lower income and long-term residents, right? And just in addition to this, in the worst case, there is also the physical displacement through evictions, as we have seen in Alla Vista. These tell us that the green gentrification can be considered somehow the result of unjust public policies, because most of the time it's the state that decides to do this. I see another comment. I was working on the High Line right before COVID. UCSB Professor Alicia O'Connor told me that this development displaced her neighborhood some years ago. She's from New York. Very true. That is a classical example that is, you know, this High Line is considered one of the best examples of green regeneration. But behind this green regeneration, there are some effects, negative effects, and most of the time, these effects, the people who are suffering are the more low-income people or people who were living there before. So that's to say how also behind the rhetoric of regeneration, green regeneration, we have some aspects there to take into consideration. Now I want to show you another one, another concept that is connect and try to interplay to stay at the interplay between space and social environmental injustice. And that is connected much more with the distribution of toxic facilities, for instance, in everywhere in the world, most of the time at the expense of the most poor countries. I know that a few lectures ago, also David showed a similar picture that is also in California, and is a paper that was written by Morello, Frosch, and other colleagues. And they came out with this concept of risk landscapes. That is actually a concept that describes those urban areas characterized by a different distribution of emissions and risk according to racial characteristics. Also, this tells us how space can play a role in recognizing the causes and also the differentiation of environmental risk. So there is a different exposure to different environmental risk according to your race, right? Or your class, or if you are working class is different of being rich. So the risk landscape includes this spatial aspect behind the environmental injustice. Then this is more a different scale, right? What we have discussed right now so far is more at, let's say, urban scale, or maybe territorial scale, regional scale. Now I want to show you this picture. I'm sure you know already a lot about this picture. How would you describe the urban design you see here in this picture? Again, some keywords. Tell me. I know you already know a lot, so you can teach me. Okay, we have some comments in the chat. Anti-houseless, very true. Inhuman, cruel, anti-houseless. Yeah, very, very true. And actually that is the result of this type of architecture and design. What do you see? This picture, I mean, I could have taken this picture everywhere, in LA, in Santa Barbara, everywhere in the Western countries, in many Western countries. And actually, this is not just a bench. It's what I call an unjust bench. Since already a few years, a new unjust urban design trend has been enforced. And this is what is called usually hostile architecture. Hostile architecture is an urban design strategy that uses elements of the built environment to guide or restrict the behavior of those who use or rely on public space more than others, such as sometimes young people, but above all, poor people, homeless people. From this bench, we can deduct at least a few comments as well. We can deduct, for instance, that public urban design policies can affect the way people live the city, and can, above all, I would say, these urban design policies can produce and sometimes also increase urban inequalities. We can also understand that inequalities have a spatial, but even more an architectural dimension. So we are speaking about different scale, micro scale, macro scale, so in different scale of injustice and spatial injustice. Let's see another one, and then I promise you that we are going to finish with all this picture. But maybe you know also this space because it's quite close to Santa Barbara. Someone of you has an idea, and this space transmit you, this picture transmit you something? Or maybe you've seen, or it's familiar to you. Feel free to drop in the chat some comments or keywords. I can go. Maybe that was a bit more complicated. You were very good so far, perfect. But it's actually, it's very close because it's in LA. This picture is from a California Plaza that is in the core of the newly developed part of the downtown of LA. Despite the name Plaza, that in Spanish means square, in a public space like a square, actually this place, it is broadly open, and it is accessible when also the adjacent shopping mall is open. Close there is a shopping mall, and only if you have a club card or if you are a client, you can access this public space. And that's why this type of space are called actually privately owned public spaces, or pseudo public spaces, or quasi public spaces. All of them appear to be public, but actually are owned and controlled by corporations, developers, and their private backers that decide who can access or not these areas. Most of the time, exactly, you have to be part of a club or be clients. This, these bring in a very important topic. This is a map of the quasi pseudo space or pseudo public spaces in London, but this actually dynamics is occurring also in New York, in many other cities in the Western countries. And let's say that the pseudo public spaces really touch a very important topic, that is who can access cities, who can create cities, and does everyone have the same right to create and access high quality urban life? And actually the same question was at the core of many scholars and many previous theoretical works. One of the most famous is Henri Lefebvre, who with his famous masterpiece, The Right to the City, paid specific emphasis on the effects that capitalism had over the city, whereby urban life was downgraded into a commodity, while social interaction became increasingly uprooted and urban space and governance were turned into exclusive goods. So not everyone, to answer the question, who can access cities, not everyone have the same right to access city, and according to Lefebvre, this is above all because of capitalism. And that is very connected with the topic of spatial justice. This means no one has the same right to access to create the city. There is not a spatial justice and equality for everyone, and the goal should be actually to achieve spatial justice. And Edward Soya, who was a very famous geographer that has worked for a lot of years at the University of California in LA, he actually came out with the definition of spatial justice as the fair and equitable distribution in space of socially valued resources and opportunity to use them. From this definition, then the question, the topic is how actually to reach more spatial justice. And that it has been at the core of many works. I will be very briefly on this point, but please interrupt me, or if you want to know more, you just ask me. But very briefly, I will tell you that in order to answer to this question, we can recognize some school of thoughts. The first one is the one we are seeing on the left side of this slide, the so-called neo-institutionalist approach. According to this approach, a just city can be achieved through public investment and regulation. This means to delegate the state in order to achieve more justice. Anyway, there are some let's say, weak points that we can recognize. For instance, not always the state is enough powerful. In some contexts, can be the institutions, the public institutions can be fragmented, can be weak, or even the state can be the first perpetrators of form of injustice. Another school of thoughts, let's say, is the one so-called Marxist or neo-Marxist that rise a call to rescue the citizens as main element and protagonists of the city. So the citizens, through social conflict, can actually achieve more justice. Then I just want to share with you another school of thoughts. There are many others. I mean, I am simplifying just to give you some ideas. This one is what is called radical insurgent planning. This actually, according to this approach, this approach emerged from bottom-up experience and operate in the face of justice and power. The insurgent planning entails a position of planner as a militant planner that hold an intentionally political position that sometimes can be also in contrast with the state. This is by Levi Sandercock, that is Australian scholar, pretty cool one, by the way. So we have some theory that have already faced the spatial justice topic and try to, question how to really achieve more spatial justice in our city. There is something that is missing in these theories I am sharing with you. Some ideas very quickly. Some points that we have discussed before. I will tell you. So what is missing, let's say a bit, it's missing the topic of environment. The environment, where is in this theory? Let's say that is not exactly protagonist in this theory. In this, we have these three balls: social justice, urban planning, and so space and environment. It's missing, and actually there is another work by another author that has given more attention to the environmental topic. And I think, if I'm not wrong, that you have already met this scholar during this course. And this scholar is Edgeman, which has recognized that there is, into the environmental topic, there is what is called an equity gap. And what he has tried to do to merge together, to integrate the social need and welfare into the sustainability discourse, making it more just by doing so. He has envisioned, Edgeman, the concept of just sustainability that can be defined as the need to ensure a better quality of life for all, now and into the future, in a just and equitable manner, while living within the limits of supporting ecosystem. So what he has tried to do is to put together the topic of environmental justice with the topic of planning and sustainability. What he has not exactly done, but other scholars are trying to do into the planning, a spatial sector, is to bring in the topic of multi-species justice. So that's attention towards all the so-called no human or more the human community. There is, for this reason, this just multi-species planning that try, even if it's very, at the beginning of this process, try to intentionally question the agency of and the micro power relationship involving the human community. Just to give very practical example, you can see a bird nest on the left side. That is, can be planned inside some urban area in order to accommodate, welcome birds, even inside the city. Or in the right side, you have this picture of a nest for ants in a garden, in a public garden. Those are just some small example, but it's still very experimental debate inside the environmental planning and environmental design debate. So we have seen a series of examples of urban injustice that are also social, economic, and environmental injustice. We understood how space accommodates inequalities, right? Or better, we have seen that urban planning, urban design, urban policies can increase spatial, social, environmental injustice. From a practical point of view, the point on how to reach a spatial environmental justice is still an open point. How to do, or better, which type of urban planning and design can address at the same time ecological and social issues. So in this second part of this lecture, I want to now focus on how to go toward spatial environmental justice. And in order to do this, I will provide some concrete practical example. But before go in depth in this, I want to know if you are still alive. Are you still with me? And do you have any doubts or something is not clear? I please you to speak up and give me some signal of life. Also something in the chat in case, or if you want to speak, go for it. Okay, you're with me. Great. Yes, this is great. Okay, 3 people are with me. 5 still with you. Oh, great. I was a bit afraid because it's more or less lunchtime. One person speaking for 30 minutes with a very strong Italian accent. Okay, you're still alive. This is great. Wow. Thank you. I am happy. Great. So we are ready to jump to the second part. If you are with me, we are just you have to survive for more or less other 20 minutes. And then, okay, great. I am happy. I was a bit afraid, but I'm very happy. So let's jump to this second part. We are going to discover or try to understand which type of urban planning and design can address at the same time ecological and social issues, and how, let's say, go toward a spatial environmental justice. In order to do this, I want to show you this nice picture and scale, and hopefully nice, but I tried. Oh, maybe you cannot see. Okay, you see? Okay, maybe like this is better. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I want to show you this. We will talk about this. We will talk about 3 strengths of design that are very attentive to the ecological and social issues. That are the ecological design, the community design, and the ecological community design. So let's start with the first one, ecological design. Ecological design, as maybe the name tells, is an approach to designing products, infrastructure, spaces, and services with special consideration for environmental impacts of the product during its whole life cycle. Just to understand better, I want to provide you some very practical examples. Some examples of ecological design are are defined as green or nature-based infrastructure. For instance, I think you know some of these. Green roof. Have you seen some green roof sometimes? This is a quite nice example. Or floodplain restoration. Or, for instance, rain gardens or permeable pavimentation. All these are interventions that you can do in the space in order to improve the ecological balance in that space, the ecological quality, and why not also the ecological biodiversity. And sometimes you can also reduce at the same time the risk. For instance, the water, the risk coming from flooding. In this sense, the blue infrastructure are even more specific. They help a lot to merge together the mitigation of water risk with also the urban design. Here I just put some picture, but tell me if you have any question, of course. Another example I want to show you about ecological design that is very connected with my first background as an architect. There is a very huge strand of knowledge and a lot of work and a lot of discussion about how to construct more ecological buildings. So you have an array that is quite a wide one. For instance, I have spent also 3 months working in Germany for a firm that was only constructing eco building, passive houses. How you have the so-called zero carbon housing, or the so-called headship biotector. Maybe I'm not pronouncing very well, but such a kind of ecological design that is connected more with the architecture. Or you have a lot of use of solar panels and so on. However, even if I do believe that ecological design, we understand that it's quite a cool one, quite important one. If everyone does ecological design, the world will be much better. I want to show you now another picture. In this example, again, on the right side, we are again in LA. Okay, yes, I have spent a bit of time in LA. I took this picture actually. This is a quite nice corner that has been recently requalified through gardens, and specifically through gardens of lemon. And if you zoom out, unfortunately, the picture is a bit small. On the right side, you can see that it's written "Be at work." This is a quite good example of ecological design because there is a quite good attention toward multi-species. Since into the design, they have included the possibility to accommodate bee and let them work. We know that bees are very important for our ecosystem. However, what is interesting to me is that this quite cool corner actually, even if it's very attentive toward the ecological issue, is not attentive toward the social issue. I will show now you why. Actually, this corner, pretty cool, pretty ecological speaking, very good one, is actually one of those spaces I was talking before, the so-called pseudo public spaces. So it's not exactly possible to access, not for everyone. And even more, it's forbidden. There was a signal telling it's forbidden pick fruit. So I want to say that not always ecological design is also addressing social issues. You can have also some example of unjust ecological design, this one. So that's just to approach critically any concept I am sharing with you and be aware of this nuance you can have. Now, if you remember, there was a second type of design that's we call community design, a very cool one. I really love it. So community design is a way to design for and with the community, right? There is a peculiar attention that usually is given to the social process behind the spatial design. Usually there are as objectives, you have improved quality and have improved the social life of a space, in the same time to reduce socioeconomic injustice, inequalities, and the way to do actually community design usually involve the ability to listen to the people's needs and also to make, why not, some door-to-door, some community organizing. Most of the time, there are also some community workshops of co-design, of self-constructions. And this is another example that really involves the social issue, the community, and also democratize the process of design itself. So, from the combination, let's say, between ecological and community design, we achieve what can be defined ecological community design that is able to address in the same moment spatial, environmental, and social problems. The ecological community design is based on the idea that the process of design is an essential moment for triggering learning mechanisms and for triggering and having social innovation. So touching the same moment topic with environment, space, but also social issues, democratic issues. Let me show you now. Okay, sorry. So we understood that we can, again, I am a bit simplified, but just in order to share better with you, we have this different type of urban planning and design. And now I want to share with you some experience, exactly 3 still ongoing experiences I have been involved in first person, that I think, modestly speaking, are quite cool and interesting experience of community design and of community ecological design. The first is an interdepartmental undergraduate course that is titled Landscapes of Mafia. The second is another experience of a community social cooperative called Trame di Quartiere. Another one is actually here in the US, is the Food Forest by Ecovista. Let's start with the first one, Landscape of Mafia. We are in Catania, in Sicily. Oh, sorry. This experience, this experience comes from a university course inside the university for 4 or 5 years. During these 3-4 years, in one of the most distressed neighborhood of my city, Catania. That is the name of this district is San Giovanni Palermo. that is and has been the headquarters of mafia and criminality, but also in recent years, some grassroots movements and associations have established their activities there. Among them, there is Save the Children that has created an education center welcoming children and their family. And their headquarters is called Punto Luce, Light Point. And in order to discuss about this, actually, I want to share with you a video. So maybe it's a short one. And how I can share with you? Maybe I should. Do you want I drop the link in the chat, or I can share the? Let me check it out. I'm sorry. Are you still with me, right?
Yep. Yeah, you can.
Oh, great.
You can just go ahead and try to share it.
Yes.
So Lizzy, just FYI, we're not hearing any sound. I'm not sure if you want
Okay.
to.
What do you think if I share the link with you? Everyone watch.
Yeah,
Is that a
that
possibility?
yeah, that would be
I
great.
know it's not a very collective, but we will back together to talk. Just because. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I think I want to interrupt. Okay. Maybe if I can suggest you to, yeah, pushing the link, and it should be like 5 minutes more or less. So we meet here again in 5 minutes.
Okay,
That
5
sounds
minutes. We'll
okay.
come back.
Thank you for your patience.
Okay. 1:35 p.m. See you back.
I see you're coming back. So in the meanwhile, I really would like to know, hear a bit from you. What do you think about this video? How do you think it's connected with what we have discussed so far? Some comments, keywords, some ideas. Did you like it? Like it? You didn't like it? Did you understand anything? Some doubts? Okay, more people are coming back. Cool, welcome back. So I share it with you again in the meanwhile. I share with you again. Can you see, right? So as you have seen, we are talking about a project that has happens in one of the most distressed districts of Catania because of many reasons. And through a process of participatory planning and community-led planning and design, we arrived to the creation of Orti Insieme, means garden together. The construction actually of a collective community garden. This was possible through some participatory methods and techniques. For instance, the planning for real, when you have a model like this, you decide all together how to construct, how to plan and design some areas. But also among the participatory methods, let's call them participatory methods, as you have seen in the video, there were also some moments and workshops of self-construction that are occasion to democratize the technique and also to democratize the expertise and to construct together a place. And thank you to this, maybe some reflections can be made. For instance, where reflection can be about the importance of partnerships between university and local actors, as well as the importance of the role of engaged research or planners in activities of service learning. Another reflection can be the importance of reconnect people and places through the process of design, especially in a marginalized neighborhood, as well as the importance to link the care for place with the care for community. And finally, the importance of doing paths of co-design that allow the involvement of the most disadvantaged classes. And those are some of the reflections that can come from this experience. So now before to jump to the, let's say, be close to the end, we are getting close to the end. I want to know, we have just 10 minutes, right? I think so.
It's about 6 minutes.
6 is, so, oh yeah, so even less. Okay, so I would like to tell you that a similar experience I have done again in Sicily, in another district, and I will just show you some picture, and then we go to the end because it was a bit longer than I was expected, but better. I am happy if we have interact a bit more. This experience is similar, and it is connected with regard another district that is the red light districts, also the district where there are more migrants, and together with another association that is called Tram di Quartiere, we have done a lot of activities. We have created a social cooperative that is Tram di Quartiere. We've done a lot of activities connected with the importance of listening and mapping the needs of people living there. And above all, through what is called walk interview, that means make interview while you are walking, as well as through community-led walks. And we have converted this knowledge that we have collected through walk interview and community-led walks in map that were including the needs of the people, stories of the people, memories of these residents. And then we have also decided together, according to these needs that have emerged, we have decided together to design and to also self-construct, to regenerate together a corner of the district, a public space, let's say. And I just show you some picture. You can see this is a self-construction moment. And this is on the right, a self-construction moment, and then one of the public events we have organized there. And also, this was the headquarters, by the way, of the solidarity activities during the pandemic, just to say how much connection and relationship have brought with the residents living in this district. And so those were two examples of, let's say, community ecological planning. The first one, the one from the video, we can say that it was a community ecological planning. The second one, I would say the one I just showed you, that is more like a community planning with less ecological component. Then let's jump to the end. Let's come back here in California. And I want to show you another picture and the last part of everything. I don't know if you know where we are now. Do you recognize this corner? I can help you. It's in Alla Vista. And I know that Professor David Pello talked about this a few days ago. This is the food forest. Oh, maybe someone drop in the chat. Wow, good, Madison. Estero Park, very true. This is the food forest. I was involved in this project as well. So this place is not only let's say, a green corner. It's a bit more, let's say. It's a food forest that is an open, green, and collective space that has been created exactly in Estero Park, and it is an experimentation of ecological garden combining food justice with multi-species justice and biodiversity. And actually it is planted in a way that accommodates fungus, animals, as well as it is organized in a way that is open to people who can freely come there, pick fruits, cultivate fruits and vegetables, regardless of their socioeconomic status. And this corner has been planned by the Isla Vista Park District, and it is still an experimental pilot project. But just imagine that you can have more corners like this. So from an urban planning and design point of view, this project tells how much can be promising to integrate food forests in urban design of our city, because this would valorize many abandoned and neglected corners, converting them in space having high green social value. And so that is just some picture of the food forest. And since I also agree with the idea that you can really reach an understanding, of the reality when you try to change it, I want to invite you to join us tomorrow. There will be a food forest volunteer day from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and you join us to understand what we are talking about and about this project, and maybe to discuss more with me if you like, or with other very cool people that are running this project. And I thank you a lot. I hope that through these experiences, all this case, it's more clear now how actually the urban and planning and design can reduce inequalities in our cities, and how in some cases can actually increase the social environmental injustice in our city. And so in order to, I really hope that was clear how much is linked. There is this link between spatial issue, environmental issue, and social issues. And I thank you a lot. And here is a list of some keywords we have used today. And if something is still unclear, just ask me.
Wow. Major mic drop. Thank you so much, Lizzy. Incredible lecture. This was so wide ranging. You should check the chat. You're getting a lot of love there from our students. This was fantastic. I really appreciate you being here today and sharing your knowledge and your expertise. And you were being very modest. I saw in one, or at least one of those pictures, you were there. So you were clearly at the center of this work, this spatial and environmental justice work, this participatory planning happening there in the neighborhoods in Sicily. So yes, as Maya says, fascinating. Natalie says, so eye-opening. Gabby says, so insightful. Madison says, grazie, learned so much. So we are unfortunately at the end of our time, but I want to say thank you also for giving out your email and for being so participatory during the lecture itself. So getting the feedback and responses during the lecture. And this is being recorded. So we will have this up on the Gaucho Space site. And lucky for all of you students, this is the first of 2 guest lectures that Lizzy Privitera has so generously agreed to offer. So we will be hearing
Good guys,
soon.
good students, not only one, even another one.
No, we are enriched from your expertise and the brain and the heart and the soul that you're sharing with us. So thank you so much, Lizzy. And thanks to all of you for being here today. Lizzy, any final comments as we wrap up?
From me or from the students?
Oh, from you. Any one last word?
No, I just thank you so much. I think the time was a bit tight, and sorry for this, but I am more than happy if you want to reach me and write me an email or anything. So I will be more than happy to discuss more with you.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I look forward to your next lecture. Thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and experience and expertise. Okay, everybody, have a good rest of your Friday and a good weekend. We will see you back here on Zoom online next Wednesday for our final week of remote instruction, and then we will be back in person on the 16th. Thanks again to Lizzy Privitera. Have a good weekend, everybody. Thanks so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you for having me. See you.
Oh, let's hold on
Asia.
for just a second. Asia.
Oh, yeah,
Let's keep
Professor, I
going.
just wanted to ask a question about the paper, just to be sure that number, like, each number has like 3 pages. So like 1 has 3 and then 2 has 3, like whatever question you choose.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to number them, but it doesn't matter if you actually write down, I don't know if you're saying pagination, but just making sure that there's no more than 3 pages. But I'm not sure if I'm answering the question.
Oh, yeah, just like a total number of 6 pages for both questions.
Perfect. That's
Okay.
right.
Thank
That's
you.
right. You got it. Thanks. Good luck, Asia. All right. Thanks so much, Lizzy. That was phenomenal. Really appreciate it. I learned a lot, not only substantively, but how to deliver a really good lecture. So
But I don't think so. But thank you, David. But you're
It
very,
was really
you're very
good. It
kind.
was so well done. It was
There you
so
go.
well done.
Oh, thank you. There are still students here. No, but thank you very much. I really enjoy a lot, and I'm sorry a bit. Maybe I think there were some moments with both with the English, and then the time was a bit over because I took a bit more time at the beginning. But next time I will try to be a bit more summarize a bit more.
Not at all. The issue with time, of course, was my fault because I took extra time doing like the announcements and all of that.
And you're ready. And you're ready.
Yes, so my apologies.
It was
for that.
fun. It was cool. I hope students enjoy, and I will be happy if you want to ask me something more. Really.
They really enjoyed it to the point where I'm a little bit envious that they seem to love you more than me, but
That is, already that is almost impossible.
Oh goodness.
No way. There is no way, no possibility of this. But yeah.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Grazie. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I see you
Okay.
next week.
Sounds
Have
good.
a nice weekend.
Sounds good. Thanks. Bye-bye, Danny. Bye, Lizzy.